Here is something many dog owners believe. My dog sleeps beside me because the bed is warm, the blanket is soft, or the room feels comfortable. And yes, comfort matters. But if we stop there, we miss something much deeper. For a dog, sleeping near someone is not just about softness. It is about trust, attachment, and a decision rooted in biology. Sleep is one of the most vulnerable states any animal can enter. When a dog falls asleep, their guard drops, their awareness softens. Their body is no longer fully prepared to react, defend, or escape. In nature, that makes sleep a survival issue, not just a routine. So the question of where a dog sleeps, and especially with whom they choose to sleep, is never as small as it looks. That is why this behavior can be so meaningful. When a dog chooses to sleep near you, lean against you, curl up by your bed, or rest where they can hear and smell you, they may be saying something much more powerful than, "This spot is cozy." In many cases, they are choosing the place where their nervous system feels safest, the place where they do not need to stay as alert, the place where their body believes, if I sleep here, I will be protected. And that changes the way we see the moment. A 2020 study on canine attachment suggested that the way dogs behave around sleep and rest can reveal something profound about the bond they share with. They're humans sometimes even more clearly than what they show while awake. That makes sense, doesn't it? When dogs are awake, they are managing noise, excitement, routine, and stimulation. But sleep strips things down. It reveals where trust lives. So if your dog chooses to nap beside your feet while you work, sleep outside your bedroom door, or curl up against you at night, it may not just be habit. It may be one of the clearest ways they express attachment, not loudly, not dramatically, but biologically, emotionally, and honestly, because perhaps the deepest form of love is this: choosing where you feel safe enough to let go. And if your dog chooses you in that moment, then what they are really saying is something extraordinary. With you, I can rest. If this spoke to your heart, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves their dog like family. And I'd love to ask you, where does your dog choose to sleep when they want to feel safest? Here's something many dog owners assume. My dog sleeps beside me because the bed is warm, the blanket is soft, or the room feels comfortable. And yes, comfort matters. But from a behavioral and biological point of view, sleeping near someone is rarely just about comfort. It is also about safety, attachment, and an old survival logic that reaches far back into canine history. Dogs descend from wolves, and wolves are deeply social animals. In group-living species, sleeping together reduces vulnerability. A lone animal is more exposed. A bonded group offers protection. Encyclopedia Britannica. That matters because sleep is one of the most vulnerable states any animal can enter. When a dog sleeps, their awareness drops, their reaction time slows, and their body is no longer fully prepared to respond to threat. So, where they choose to sleep, and especially who they choose to sleep beside, is not a trivial detail. It is a safety decision. That helps explain why some dogs ignore expensive beds and still choose the floor beside your bed, the doorway to your room, or the space pressed against your legs. In many cases, the owner has become what attachment researchers would call a safe haven and a secure base. And maybe that is the more beautiful truth. Your dog is not simply choosing the softest place. They are choosing the place where their nervous system feels safest enough to let go. Research on canine attachment has shown that a dog's bond with their owner is reflected in how they respond to stress and even in how they sleep. A 2022 sleep study found that dogs' attachment toward their owner was associated with sleep structure and sleep-related brain activity in a novel environment. In other words, the bond shows up even when the dog is asleep. There is also growing evidence that dogs and owners can show synchronized stress physiology over time, including linked patterns in cortisol and heart-related measures. While the science on sleep-specific HRV synchrony in dog-owner pairs is still emerging, researchers increasingly describe the dog-human bond as a form of co-regulation, closer in some ways to family attachment than many people realize. That is why sleeping near you may mean far more than, "This spot is cozy." It may mean, "This is my safest point in the world." So if your dog chooses to sleep beside you, near your door, or with their body turned toward your room, try seeing it for what it may truly be. Not dependency, but trust. Not habit, but biology, wrapped in love. One of the most revealing things about a dog is not how they behave when they're excited, it's how they sleep, because sleep is honest. A dog cannot perform safety while asleep. Their body tells the truth, and the position they choose can quietly reveal what they trust, what they're protecting, and where they feel most at peace. That is why sleep posture can be such a meaningful window into the bond between dogs and their humans. Research has even found that a dog's attachment to their owner is reflected in sleep-related patterns and brain activity, especially in unfamiliar settings. PMC. Take the dog who sleeps pressed against your legs, your back, or the side of your bed. On the surface, it can look like cuddling for warmth. And yes, warmth may be part of it. But often it is also about physical reassurance. Dogs rely heavily on body contact, scent, and rhythm to feel safe. When they sleep against you, they may be using your presence, your breathing, your stillness, your familiar body to help regulate their own nervous system. I would be careful about overstating this as monitoring your heart rate, because that specific claim is more interpretive than settled science. But the broader idea is strongly supported. For many dogs, sleeping close reflects bonding, trust, and a desire for security. Then there's the dog who sleeps facing the door. That posture often carries a different feeling. It can reflect vigilance, an instinctive tendency to monitor the most likely point of entry for movement, sound, or change. In other words, while you sleep, they may be keeping one part of themselves oriented toward the environment, not always because they are anxious, but because some dogs naturally take on a quiet, watchful role. Kinship. And then there is the donut, the curled up position. This one is beautiful because it carries both comfort and history. Curling helps conserve body heat, but it also shields the belly and vital organs, which suggests that even in a loving home, some old survival instincts remain gently alive in the body. It is a posture of warmth, protection, and sometimes light alertness. RSPCA Queensland. So the next time you look at your sleeping dog, don't just see a pose, see a message. Because sometimes the way a dog sleeps is their quietest way of saying, "This is where I feel safe enough to let go." Many dog owners misread this moment completely. Their dog turns its back while sleeping, and the human mind quietly wonders, is my dog ignoring me? Is this distance? Indifference? But in the language of animals, the opposite may be closer to the truth. Turning one's back is often a vulnerable act. During sleep, awareness drops, reflexes slow, and the body is less prepared to respond. That is why where a dog sleeps and how they position their body can reveal so much about trust. Research on dog sleep and attachment suggests that sleep-related behavior can reflect the strength and quality of the dog-owner bond, especially in situations where the dog must decide what feels safe. So, when a dog chooses to sleep with their back toward you, that posture may not be rejection at all. It can be a signal that says, "I do not need to keep you in my field of watchfulness. I trust this space. I trust you." In other words, the dog is not turning away because they feel disconnected. They may be turning away because they feel protected enough to let their guard soften. VCA notes that when dogs sleep with trusted pack members, they may orient themselves in ways that reflect both safety and belonging. Now, we should be careful not to romanticize this too far. It would be an overstatement to say every dog who turns their back is making a heroic declaration, or that wolves only do this with packmates they would die for. That phrasing is more poetic than scientific. But the broader principle holds. In social canids, vulnerability around rest is deeply tied to trust, familiarity, and a sense of shared safety. VCA. And maybe that is why this posture touches people so deeply once they understand it. Your dog is not just choosing a sleeping position. They are showing you where their nervous system feels calm enough to let go. They are saying, in the quietest way possible, "I don't need to watch my back right now because I believe you will not harm me and this place is safe." That is not indifference. That is trust in its most relaxed form. If this gave you a new way to understand your dog, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves dogs deeply. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Does your dog sleep with their back to you, beside you, or facing the door? Every night, your dog makes a choice. And it is far more meaningful than many people realize. To us, bedtime can look routine. The dog curls up by the bed, sleeps at the door, or presses close against our legs, and we think, that's just habit. But in biological terms, sleep is one of the most vulnerable states an animal can enter. A sleeping dog is less alert, slower to respond, and more exposed to risk. That means where they choose to sleep and who they choose to sleep near is never just random. It is a decision shaped by trust, attachment, and safety. That is why sleeping near you can be such a powerful declaration. Your dog is not only choosing warmth or comfort, they are often choosing the place where their nervous system feels safest enough to let go. In that quiet nightly ritual, they may be saying something words could never quite hold. This is where I can rest without fear. And maybe that is one of the purest forms of love a dog can offer. Not excitement, not performance, but trust, expressed in sleep. But there is another side to this that matters deeply. If your dog suddenly changes where they sleep, starts waking more often, becomes restless at night, avoids the bed they used to love, or begins pacing when they were once settled, that shift deserves attention. Veterinary sources note that changes in sleep patterns or sleep-wake cycles can be early signs of pain, illness, or cognitive dysfunction in senior dogs. Senior Dog Guidance also warns that a notable change in sleep habits may point to underlying medical problems such as osteoarthritis, heart disease, or canine cognitive decline, VCA. And that part is especially important for aging dogs. Current veterinary guidance estimates that about 14% to 22.5% of dogs older than 8 years may have age-related cognitive impairment, while other reviews have reported ranges up to roughly 35% in older dog populations. Common signs include daytime sleeping, nighttime restlessness, pacing, and changes in social interaction. So maybe the lesson is this: your dog's sleep is not just rest, it is communication, it is love. And sometimes, it is also an early whisper that something in the body or mind has changed. If this gave you a new way to understand your dog, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves their dog like family. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where does your dog choose to sleep when they feel safest?